Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. We are still getting ready for our live stream tomorrow night, our game party and everything else. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be going, if they're not already, on their way to Philadelphia to spend the night before the game. I've got about an hour and a half before I'll be on the Dan Saleo show. And I was told that Brad Sham is on today, and then I'm on later on. So it's like, really? I'm on the same program as Brad Sham? That's pretty good. Pretty good. So here's something that's kind of interesting. We've heard a lot of people like Colin Cowherd that have said things like Brian Schottenheimer, he'll be one and done. You know, he's not going to be here. He sucks and everything else. Well, nobody told that to Brian Schottenheimer because Brian Schottenheimer seems like he's planning on being here a while. The whole Micah Parsons situation, he was being asked about it on 105.3 The Fan. And he actually had a great response to the trade and stuff because, you know, people are, here's what you're looking at. Here's my thing, okay? When I looked at this team this year, I don't, unlike some people, I look at it and say, we're not a Super Bowl team. We have started all over with our coaching staff. The year before, we literally deconstructed the team. We let go 9 free agents and things. And I'm not going to say that that was the worst thing to do. I would have liked to have seen them do some things to replace them to start the process. For example, Derrick Henry. You know, people said, well, Derrick Henry wouldn't have helped you any last year. No, he probably wouldn't have made that much of a difference. Maybe we win, 1 or 2 more games and things. But could you imagine had they gotten Derrick Henry last year? If we had added Derrick Henry last year to the roster, we would have been in much better shape here. Think about all the people that we've added, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, the 2 draft picks. That would have been capital that we would have been able to hold on to. And in essence, the money that you're paying those guys would have been most of the money that you would have paid for Derrick Henry. And that would have been a major check off on the roster. But be that as it may, knowing that we have all those places that we have to rebuild, that you've got a whole new coaching staff, you've got a third of the roster's been turned over and you're one of the youngest in the NFL, I look at this and say, this is a multi-year project. And the way you want to look at coaching, typically, if you have not won within 5 years, okay? If you have not won within 5 years, then chances are you're not going to, okay? Because, you need some time to get your coaching staff together, to get the type of players that you want on the roster, and get your philosophy. And generally speaking, if you don't get everybody on that page within 5 years, at that point, they start to check out. And that's where it was, Mike McCarthy, they didn't really help him as much as they should have. And it would have been nice if they had added a few pieces on those 12-5 seasons, it might have been a totally different story. So we start the Brian Schottenheimer era, which you look at and say is 5 years, and you look at it and you figure that you've got Dak Prescott probably for 3 years at least of it, okay? And so now it's about him doing everything he can to start the process, get the type of guy, set the culture and things. And looking, this year you want to try and win as much as you can, but you want to start building up everything for going forward. Okay, so this is what Brian Schottenheimer said when he was on 105.3 The Fan. Now, I think this is a great response to the idea that getting rid of Micah Parsons.
Coach, normally in big sports trades, we deem the team that loses the superstar, the known talent, as kind of the loser in it. But then you have people say, well, there's addition by subtraction. There's an addition to the culture. Have you been on teams that you can recall or remember? I'm not asking you to give the specific examples, but have you seen where the better player, the bigger name has left and it has been kind of addition by subtraction because of those culture things?
Well, yeah, I don't think it's got anything to do with the culture thing. I think it's got more than anything to do with, okay, hey, what does this look like 2 years from now? What does this look like after we utilize those first round draft picks? What does this look like as we play football throughout this season and beyond? Because at the end of the day, guys, we're going to be judged on wins and losses, and we all own that. So again, a lot of times these deals, when they happen, it takes time to figure out. Everybody's quick to say, oh, this team won, this team lost. But in reality, we really don't know that because there's so much left to be determined based on the capital that we have in terms of, the draft picks, the cash that's available, things like that. But at the end of the day, again, I'm really excited about our team. We've talked about this for a long time. We are very, very deep on the edge pieces. Mike is an incredible player. I am not saying that. He is an elite football player. We did have a void inside that we were a little concerned about with our depth. We get a great player in Kenny Clark that is just a tremendous, player inside that can help solidify the middle of your defense. In my conversations with a few people in Green Bay, they were devastated to lose him because of the type of man that he is. And then, of course, you get the draft picks that, again, allow you to do what we've done here historically, which is draft very, very well in the first round, and that's a big part of it.
Okay, that's a really good response to this. It's not solely about this year. It's trying to build everything down the road. Now, we'll find out if that's going to actually work or not. It sounds good on paper, but basically it's saying we understand this year is about starting all over and beginning the clock on getting the team completely built to what we need, okay? And Micah Parsons, great player. We love him and everything else, but it may end up being that it's just too cost prohibitive. I know that we're looking at this and you're going to say you're just flipping the script and everything else to try and, make a bad move sound good and try and sell Jerry Jones' shit. But no, when we signed Zeke Elliott, I remember going through, because I remember the argument completely, and everybody said, you got to pay Zeke, got to pay Zeke. Well, there's some places you have to pay. Quarterback is definitely one. But when you looked at running backs, typically, after year 4, for 85, 90% of them, they start to go downhill. The running back, sadly, a lot of the running backs will never get that big bag of money. Because of the nature of the position, there's only so many hits in your body. And for the Cowboys to go through with a $90 million deal with Zeke Elliott was repeating the mistake that they made with Marion Barber. Because Marion Barber, they ended up doing like a 6-year or 7-year extension with Marion Barber, who was a part-time starting running back whose style of play does not last for long. You can't pound people into submission and think that as a battering ram, you're going to have a 10-year career. And so those are mistakes that you make. And when you look at the landscape of a lot of the high-paid edge rushers, you look at the teams and they're lacking in other places that are preventing them from being successful in the playoffs or to the Super Bowl. And so the Cowboys said, okay, let's take this asset and see if we can turn it into something more for the future, for next year and the year after. And we'll wait and see if that ends up working out or not. We shall see. We do have good news completely. For right now, it is that we have Tyler Guyton and Diggs are both going to be starting tomorrow. So that's big news for the Cowboys. So we'll see. Well, here's an interesting one. Wow, this is kind of an interesting tweet from Brandon Lohr. I've seen the Cowboys go 12-5 with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence at defensive end. I've also seen them go 12-4 and 13-3 with a combination of Tyrone Crawford, Jeremy Mincey, and Benson Mawah as their leading sack guys. That's kind of telling. It's kind of interesting. All right, people. We'll see you soon. About an hour away from going live on the Dan Celia Show. Peace.